Hey everyone. Before we jump right into the podcast, I'd like to take this moment to introduce you to Small Talk About Big Feelings. It's hosted by me, Brandon Boyd, Director of Public Relations and Community Outreach for Lecon Behavioral Health. I'm a father of two, a husband, a triplet, a lover of sports and the art of storytelling, and I've had a mental health journey of my own over the years. On the show, we'll talk about the things that really matter, the stuff that shapes how we live, love, work, and connect. That's right, we're talking about feelings. Whether you're a parent trying to understand your child, an adult trying to figure out how to show up for your aging parents, a teacher navigating classroom emotions, a professional managing stress, or simply someone curious about how humans tick, this podcast is for you. Because we all have feelings, and they're never as small as they seem. Each month, we'll take a look at topics related to behavioral health, speak with some great content experts and surprise guests, and most importantly, have some fun while doing it. We'll get real, we'll laugh a little, and remind ourselves that talking about emotions doesn't have to be scary or awkward. In fact, it can actually be refreshing. I'm not a medical professional, and this podcast is not meant to be a substitute for medical advice. It's meant to open doors to conversations and make topics like mental health more approachable and accessible in a way that makes you feel like you're just talking with a friend, even if there are some big feelings involved. Because if we can talk about traffic and weather, surely we can talk about joy, stress, grief, and everything else that makes us human. So welcome to the very first episode of Small Talk About Big Feelings. I'm so glad you're here. Before we begin, I want to pause and give an important note. In today's episode, we will be talking about suicide. This is a big, heavy topic, and I want you to know it's okay to take care of yourself in whatever way you need. If at any point this conversation feels overwhelming, please press pause, step away, or come back when you're ready. Your well-being matters first. Suicide is not just something we talk about in September during Suicide Prevention Month. It's something that matters every single day, 24/7. And so do you. If you're in the United States and you or someone you know is in emotional distress or thinking about suicide, you can dial 988 at any time to be connected with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You are not alone, and there is help available around the clock. If you're here in Erie County, Pennsylvania, you can also reach out to the Crisis Services line at 814-456-2014. That number is staffed 24/7 to ensure someone is always there when you need support. There's also 24/7 walk-in availability at your nearest emergency room, including Lecon Medical Center and Behavioral Health Pavilion and St. Vincent. In today's episode, we'll talk about why conversations, sometimes even small ones, can make a big difference. We'll explore the emotions of losing someone to suicide, potential trauma and triggers after the event, and how breaking the silence around suicide is one of the most powerful tools we have for prevention. This isn't an easy conversation, but it's one of the most important ones we can have today, tomorrow, and every day. We're so glad you've tuned in. Let's get to it. Welcome to Small Talk About Big Feelings. Today I have local celebrity and special guest, John Stehlin, Erie News Now meteorologist. John, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. You know, I love small talk, big guys. That's what it's
Small talk about big guys. That's right. I like it. With it being Suicide Prevention Month, we wanted to speak about something that I think has been near and dear to your heart for the past 2 years.
Sure.
So, for those who maybe don't know, your colleague, Emily Matson, died by suicide.
Yes.
Obviously very hard for the Erie News Now crew and all of the Erie community. I want to start by maybe talking about your guys' friendship. And obviously, from our vantage point, we're able to see on air you guys have that chemistry and that, camaraderie. Was it like that off the air as well?
Yeah, what you saw on air was what we did off air. And, sometimes you have to be in TV, sometimes people are a little reserved. Emily and I weren't, and that's what we had that personality.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And if you know Emily and if you know me, we're both very straightforward. We tell you what we feel, and it's like take it or leave it. Just understand where we're coming from.
Sure.
We're not coming from a place to harm you, to insult you, to hurt your feelings. This is how we feel, but we try to do it with levity and humor, a lot of times. But yeah, the things that you saw on air with Emily and I were exactly the way, well, they weren't exactly, because there's things you just can't say on TV. And if you know Emily, she was colorful. Yeah. She had a colorful way of expressing herself. Absolutely. Sometimes.
Yeah. And for you guys, that, you spend so much time together and you build that rapport over time. Was it, a bond that kind of went beyond the workplace?
Well, it does. You've heard the term your work wife, your work husband. I mean, Emily is clearly my work wife, and it was funny because there was one time, I think we were at the German Fest, and I was there, Emily and her real husband, was there, and it was funny because people would start gravitating to Emily and me, and the husband kind of just drifted to the back.
Right.
I said, you okay? Yeah,
There's a couple that everybody knows.
Yeah.
Right?
So I said, you okay with this? Because, I'm just so used to it now. But yeah, when you do, I think in a lot of workplaces other than TV, that there's someone that you drift, and I don't even want to say opposite sex or same sex. There's a bond that you have with a fellow coworker, man or woman or whatever. And so yeah, we had that rapport, and yeah, there were nights where we would go home separately, and of course, some days there'll be a text, or she'll call me and we'll talk at 2, 3 in the morning, sometimes in the morning, or if she was really upset, she was just like, come outside now, and so we talk about something. So yeah, it went on, but we didn't we didn't do family dinners or anything together, but there was still always an open communication.
Sure.
Yeah.
In the immediate aftermath of what happened, what was going through your mind? I'm sure, as a close friend, it was shocking for you. What were those feelings?
Yeah, well, here, let's go full disclosure on here. I mean, Emily and I had discussed this topic before, that she was having some issues, and this was about. And this is the first anyone's hearing, because I don't really talk about it unless you ask me. But,
sure.
It was about 2 to 3 years prior to December 11th, I believe. It went on and seemed to be fine. And it was like 2-3 years prior to that. So there was a discussion about it prior before. Okay. The speed up, and, things happened. And if we get into it, we get into it. But, I was called about 7:30 that morning, and it was the news director. And I'm like, why are you calling me? I thought someone broke a weather computer. Right. I thought there's.
You told me before this that usually you're up at 10. So
yeah, usually we get up 10, 7:30, and most people at work know. In fact, I just wrote an email the other day. I said, if you have questions, I get up at 10.
You're right.
Yeah, don't call before that. But he called, and and I was like, what's going on? The weather computer broke, and someone didn't show up to work. That I have to come in as the weather director, And
sure.
But then he told me, and I was just like, really? And it was very surreal at the time, you just don't put your head around things. And, and it was interesting because her friend had called me apparently 100 million times that night. And, my phone's on silent, and unless you're like a close friend, you don't get through.
Right.
And
privileges.
Yeah, the privileges. And she's a close friend in that, but she just wasn't in that situations then. So anyway, I just noticed, like, oh my God, I didn't know.
Yeah. And
she told me the story, and then she told me because she was on the phone with Emily. So I heard how everything happened, and of course, how you feel. You're just like, wow, she did it. But my instant thing and you'll see me laughing and probably and smiling, because that's how I know Emily.
For you, you got to know Emily on set. You had to repeatedly go back to set and be kind of in those same spaces as you were dealing with the loss of your good friend. Mm-hmm. How did you handle those different emotions?
It's interesting you say that, because it was kind of tough. Interesting enough, I was off that day that it happened. Uh-huh. So I think a lot of people felt that I had taken that day off, but it was a good reason. It was a good time to have the day off, to be honest with you. It was tough, and you went back into the newsroom, I think the next day, or then, I don't know if that was late in the week, I'm not sure. But, you'd walk by her desk, and there was a candle on her desk. Her desk was untouched. There were a lot of flowers around their desk, so you're kind of reminded. of that. It really hits me, and we didn't do the 7:00 show for quite a long time.
Right.
Because the 7:00 show, Emily and I really built, and just to talk about that a little bit, when she came on to the 7, because I think Eva was doing it before that, Mastimatio, and when Emily came on, we goofed off behind the scenes. But there's a format to TV. You do the news, you do the weather, you do this. And like Emily and Emily, we like to be creative, and we don't like to follow rules.
Okay.
So we said, let's do this. Let me bring you on the trend. Let's do the trend. And that's how that happened. And then I was like, all right, well, the trend has to be this. And we talked about how to tell them. And then eventually we just let our own. And so I'm just going all over the place.
You're okay.
But the issue is that we said, let's give people the news. That's what they wanted, because that's why you're tuning into news program. Because then after that, it went to health. That's what we call it. It's just like it just did. We just did our thing. We were ourselves, and we just talked, and it seemed to resonate with people. And I think it was the chemistry that really worked. So when you're back at work and you don't have that person to bounce thing off of, so it's a little tough for me. So now I'm not expressing myself as much as I used to. I didn't have that freedom. Someone who got me. Because I have a very dry sense of humor, very dry.
Sure.
Emily got it. Sometimes a little challenging for other people to get that.
Right.
But to answer your question, there are days where I will walk outside on a break and stand in the same exact location that she would. And there are days, since then that it's hard for me to wrap my mind around that she used to be there with her coffee cup that she would bring all the time.
Right.
And I'm going to say, if you're a problem, Emily, you just let me know. I mean, and she would drink and then she would spit. And I'm like, why are you spitting? What is wrong with you? But I just remember these little things, but we'd have our conversations about work, maybe about a story, about something happening in her life.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get your head around non-existent, like she's not existent.
Right.
Like she's not there.
Right.
And even physically. And I'll be honest, we'll skip ahead to the funeral where, I was talked to, there's a lot of stuff that was going on. I was at the funeral and I didn't realize she was cremated. And it was interesting because there she was in an urn. It was hard to get your mind around that.
Right. And I've experienced that. I've lost my dad and my mother. Both were cremated.
Yeah.
And, that sense of they were here and now they're not, like, I've been in situations where I, go to my childhood home and I see my brother's bedroom or where my dad used to be on the computer all the time. It's eerie, right?
Yeah.
And not in our city way, but in the double E.
Yeah.
How do you process those emotions?
Well, luckily I'm in a situation and I know a lot of folks aren't, but I am so lucky to be in a situation where I'm a public figure. There is not a place I didn't go in that time period that someone didn't say something, show support. Obviously the contact that you have through social media, emails, even the work environment too, of course. But there was a lot of support out there. People literally were hugging me. There was a person at Sheetz, so I came up to buy something and she even left her cash register and ran around to give me a hug. And even to this day, there are people who'll stop me while grocery shopping and they just bring her up. Yeah. So is it sad? I know, and it sounds corny because I know that, a lot of people have these passings. It's like the person that has passed does not want you to be sad.
Right.
Right. And I know that Emily would be like really pissed if I was like, ho hum. Of course I'm sad.
Yes.
But it's funny that I tell people that you see me smiling, you see me in a good mood, and we're talking about it, it's because I remember the good times more than that.
Yeah. It's like when you're talking about Emily, your body naturally, gets into that mode that you were with, when you were with her talking.
Yeah, I remember just some of the things she would do, and I laugh, and I still think about it to this day, and once I remember she was reading a story. What you don't know is she's reading. When someone's on TV, being the weather person, I'm not on camera, so I can walk around behind the cameras and all that stuff. And one day I remember she was doing something. Maybe she was doing Guam. We also were the anchor team in Guam, the island, crazy. And I was walking through the room and she said something about Bogota, Colombia. And I walked through and I'm like, what? And I looked at her and she's reading. She can't like say anything to me. And I came back. I go, it's Bogota. And she goes, no, it's not. I was like, Emily, it's Bogota, Colombia.
Yeah.
And she's like, and she looked at it and she goes, oh, I think you're right. I'm like, yeah, I'm right. But there's these little things that like we would just banter on, and she would say, and we even do it live at the 7:00 here. I'm like, what did you say? So those are the things I keep thinking about.
Yeah.
And I am reminded of her because I'm a gifter. I do give little gifts to people all the times, and she's kind of the same way with me. And see, I'll just laugh again. I just remember one day, and she comes up to me and she goes, I got you something, but I don't know if I really should give it to you. I go, well, if you bought it for me, why don't you give it to me? I don't understand.
It's reasonable.
Yeah. She's like, well, I don't know if it's inappropriate. I go, are you telling me about it being appropriate? We're very inappropriate.
Sure.
We would have been an HR nightmare. But, so she bought me, llama boxers.
Okay.
Boxers with llamas, because, I have Johnny Llama during Christmas time. And she goes, I just saw these and I think, like, you should have these. And I'm just like, I'm not upset or offended by this, but it was just funny that she would just buy me these little things. So I see them, like she went to Mexico and painted a, Bill's helmet for me, and she told me the process of how she had to find someone who spoke Spanish to say how to say "Let's go Bills." So she figured it out and she wrote it. So that sits on my desk every day. There's a picture of her and that, and just these little things. So this is why, people are like, are you sad? Or they may be like, I can't believe you're just so, yeah, I mean, because I'm one of these people, and I'm sorry, I know I'm just taking over this thing.
You're the guest.
When people talk about,
you said you like to break the rules anyway.
Yeah, I do break the rules.
Yeah.
But when people, speak about how they deal with this, and I figured you would ask me how you're dealing with this, is like everybody is different in how they do.
Of course.
It doesn't mean they grieve less. I mean, they may grieve more. But the fact is, everybody is different. And knowing Emily and my personality, it's like I can't focus on the sadness of it. I focus on the positiveness. And that is what, quote unquote, carries the spirit, the energy, depending what you believe, carries it on. So, yeah, I don't look at the bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk, because obviously you guys were both local public figures. The community kind of gets to know you guys. When I first met you in the hallway here, like, feels like I've seen you a million times, because I get to know who you are on TV, or a part of who you are on TV.
I'm basically the same in person that I am on TV.
So far, I would confirm that. Yes. John seems to be about the same.
Yes.
But and getting to know Emily as a community, as a whole, like, we kind of collectively lost Emily on that day as well, and I think people, at least from what I saw on social media, kind of gravitated to you to be kind of like that therapist, or that somebody that they could speak to about Emily. Did you see a lot of that happening? Yeah,
I do. It's very interesting how people, even to this day, out of the blue. I mean, you're talking about this, like, on a June 14th, I'll get an email randomly about, I was thinking about Emily today.
Yeah.
And people that I know that she did not know physically.
Right.
Right. And so what did open my eyes, I've been in this business a long time, and I think here in this part of my career and with Emily, the lives that we touch, and not touch as, as dramatic, being like we touch these lives.
Yeah.
As that people that watch us.
You're in their homes.
Yeah. They actually literally sit down, turned on to watch two people they don't know. Yeah, that's fascinating. And I don't necessarily remember the question, but I'll try to answer it. I'm not surprised by that. I am surprised by the amount and the continuation of it.
Yeah.
Which is good, because people say don't let her spirit die and all that stuff. And then people did come to me because I think I'm the one that was most closely connected to her visually on air.
Yeah.
Like, she was very good friends with Jameson Harpo. Jameson Hicksonbaugh, I can't remember his name. Very close. She was very close to other people in the newsroom, but they, you didn't see that.
Right. There wasn't that on screen.
Yeah. And she was there a long time. So, the people, great. Yeah. And I think hopefully, even though I have a rough exterior, I am very straightforward. Sometimes people feel I think people feel that I am approachable enough.
Yeah.
And I'll talk, we'll talk about Emily, and I have no problems. People are like, I'm so sorry, I don't want to say this, And there's some days where some people say things and, make you tear up a little bit. Yeah. But, I mean, that's what friends do.
Right.
And even if she's not here, I'm still her friend.
Right. Do you feel like you do a good job of allowing yourself that space to feel those, those moments where there's, tears happening or there's sad stories? Do you give yourself grace? Is it a struggle? What has that process been like?
I think we touched on it. It's just my process is that even if I am trying to feel a little, even if I'm feeling, for example, when I told you I go outside and I don't see her physically and my mind's going, inevitably, I will think of something that makes me laugh. I mean, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Emily and I don't think there was a day that she and I would not burst out laughing out loud, guffaw, screaming through the newsroom. Seriously. So, I mean, I understand. I do feel sad, and, maybe even when I'm by myself, but the way my mind works, I switch. I always find something that like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. And there's things I'm just not going to tell you, but there's just things that she would do or she would say, and I'm just like, look at her, and we just start laughing. And it's like, I remember there were many times where she would be talking to me, and I'd just like look at her like, and I was like, I would make a little face, and she would start laughing because I have these facial expressions that say so much, and so I think about that. And again, I know it's a sad time, of course, and it's but it's just how you deal with it. But it is what it is. And, I do talk to her best friend a lot, and we talk and this, but every time her best friend and we talk, we just start laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's, not that we as a community have that relationship with Emily, but I think she just seems so approachable, right? So,
yes.
Like one of us, and I know she was, born and raised here, but, I only have one in-person Emily experience. I was a 19-year-old intern with the Erie Times News, and I was out on assignment, and Emily was there, I think, doing a live shot. I think it was in Perry Square or something. And I obviously had seen her on TV. I was like, she's really pretty. I'm going to go talk to her. So I went up and I did the awkward 19-year-old thing where like, seen you on TV, I really like your work. And she was so gracious and kind and funny. And
let me bet she turned and she actually gave you her full attention and talked to you.
She did. Yeah. She made you feel like,
you were the only one there.
Yeah. And she, I'm sure, had other things going on, whether it was in her ear or whatever, but she gave me, full attention, and I walked away thinking she was really nice.
Yeah.
And I think, that opinion of her, as I watched her on TV, never wavered. She always seemed very approachable, very down to earth, very friendly. Did you feel like the community saw that as a whole?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was, I'm just laughing because when you say live shot, I think immediately, like, I yelled at her one day because as being the weather person, there was and I'll get back, there was a 90, there was some kind of pile up because of the cars slipping and sliding. And Emily went out there to do a live shot. And I've yelled at her for this. I'm like, what are you doing? She's, what are you talking about? And I was like, why are you wearing like stilettos? Like she was wearing dress shoes and a skirt and on the middle of 90 in a snowstorm. And I was like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
She goes, I was fine. I wasn't cold. I'm like, it was just funny seeing her reporting there. And there might be pictures of it, her in her dress shoes and a skirt. It's just like, what is wrong? But that's how she loved news to go out there and do the job. So when you said live shot, boom. See, and that's how I react. It's not that I don't want to be sad. I just feel like sad is an energy that you can have, and it's fine, but it takes up more energy than you need. And laughing is like, yeah, that was her. It's sad that she's not here anymore. But, the way people this is the beauty of Emily or the show that we were on. We were literally ourselves. And that's the thing. He's like, if you like me, then you like who I am. And that's who Emily was. She was literally herself. Mm-hmm. Now, when she reads the news and serious stuff, it's one thing. But when you that show allowed us to say, let's just say what we feel and see what people.
Here's who we are as people, and they can judge us for.
And it's good because I think people really need to realize that, it's funny. I had this conversation with somebody recently. It's like there's a young person who came in the business, and they had this picture of what TV people were, and when they got into the business and was now on TV, they were like, "Oh my God, we're really just normal people."
Right.
I was like, "Yeah."
Right.
And I said a few things that we do. I was like, "Yeah, we go to the bathroom." We have problems. We got to call our mothers every night. We got, we got to get
pants on one leg at a time.
Yeah, I was just like, we got to cut grass, and we got to deal with people who can't drive. I mean, it's like, it's nothing's perfect in our world.
Yeah, but I think on the air you obviously see the polished final product, the announcer voice or the TV voice.
Well, some people do.
Your voice, it tends to sound similar to what.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same, but I had to work hard at that. But you're right. Some people do change their voice, and it's not that they're fake.
No.
But this does show you what I've just talked about being yourself, and that's what Emily was. She was literally herself. And when she laughed or guffawed on air, it was literally, she wasn't faking the laugh.
Yeah.
And if she didn't like something, you would know she didn't like something. Trust me. And it's much like me. And that's why we get along. Because she would get on me and I'd get right back on her. And 2 minutes later, we were outside just talking.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sounds like it was a good friendship.
Yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah.
It was pretty solid.
So obviously we're here. This topic makes sense for September because it is Suicide Prevention Month. For somebody who, had a friend go through this, you've gone through it now yourself on the other side, what would be your recommendation to other people with friends who maybe have had these thoughts or experiencing some mental health issues? What would be your recommendation?
Well, it's interesting you asked that. Here's the thing. I believe that I did what I did before, and what I'm about to say, and I believe Emily knew that, and this is why she opened up and talked to me about it 2-3 years ago, is to listen. But since then, to be honest with you, and I know Suicide Prevention Month, but we also talk about men's mental health as well.
Sure.
And I do this, and you can ask my friends, that part of I've worked in since this thing happened, I do ask people, and in fact, I'll be honest, I asked Kelly Rowland yesterday. I asked them people about their mental health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extremely important.
So that's what I took from Emily. We'll talk about it. So now, I say, hey, how you doing? What's going on today? I go, how's your mental health? And my friends who are very close to me in the circle, it's not a big deal. I mean, it's not that a big deal that they expect me to say that. We have a safe space.
Right. The topic isn't surprising.
Yeah. But when I ask somebody who may be a coworker that I don't have that relationship with, I go, how's your mental health today? They step back. They're like, oh, I've never been asked that before. And one person, nameless, said, wow, because I honestly really appreciate you asking me because today, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so I triggered that. So asking people about their mental health, how they're feeling, I think is what I've learned about it. And this is what I do now. Had a conversation the other night with a friend, and I said something and he just finally opened up. So I think it depends who you are, but
sure,
you have to create a safe place that you're not a judgmental. You have to, with your friend, just like, I'm not going to judge you. What's up?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's what we do too much today. We judge people and we put people, and people are afraid to say things or afraid to do things. I forgot what I was going to say about the Emily situation. But.
Well, I can maybe lead this a little bit. So we know that mental health in some areas has a stigma, right? Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that Emily's passing did was it opened up the conversation for our community. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like that's something for you personally, that like you've been able to talk with people about mental health more than ever?
Yeah, I think I have. Again, I think now that may have opened up, that people realize that I'm a safe place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatever you've done, I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to make sure that, or whatever you're thinking is crazy in the, not the bad sense, but however, interesting it is that you're thinking,
yes,
doesn't mean you're necessarily wrong, but maybe we need to talk to people. And if it's something, obviously, I'm not a trained professional, I don't have the education or the tools, but I have recommended several people. It's like, this is a place where you may want to talk to somebody, a therapist, a psychologist, or whatever. And a few of them have. And, you know, they've been talking to them for now at least a couple years.
Well, good.
Yeah. And that's nothing bad. I mean, you know, I'm lucky that I have so many people to talk to, and I feel like if I just write something on a post, I will get my support.
Yeah, it's kind of cathartic, I think, to be able to put that into the world and get a response. And obviously, being a public figure, you get, you know, a lot of people saying things and sharing memories and that sort of thing. And I think it's an important conversation to have, right? I think, you know, whether it's on this show or in person, I haven't, you know, been afraid to say I go to therapy. I was diagnosed obsessive compulsive disorder when I was 5. Like, I've had my own mental health struggles and successes. And I think the more that we can talk about that and be open about it in places like here on the podcast or just in real life, I think the better that, you know, we can kind of handle these situations and grow.
Yeah, you know, and when you talk about the podcast, talk about social media, I think that social media in some ways has helped with that. Unfortunately, I think some people take advantage of it and do quite the opposite, where they are more critical of people and hide behind names. But I think if you can find a safe space, and this is what I've tried to do with my Facebook page, where it is a safe space. And then when someone starts to get, you know, you'll get banned real quick because it's not a place for that. And then people should be able to give their opinions and thoughts that are constructive, without being criticized for it. Yeah. So I think that the social media and that, and when you talk about me, how I did, the social media has helped, I think, a lot of people. Because other people don't know where to turn to. Talking to your husband, talking to your kids about Emily is one thing, but having the connection with me via social media, and I usually respond, you know, if I can't respond to everyone, I will put out a post, and you know.
You wait until 10 a.m. at least, though, right? To respond.
Well, I do, and some days there's a scheduled post, so I don't have to wake up.
There you go.
Yeah, don't call me before 10.
You're right. Anything else you want to share about Emily's memory, or, you know, your experience going through, you know, kind of having such a strong friendship and then, you know, experiencing a sudden change in a friendship?
I think the most important thing is like, I still am friends with Emily.
Of course.
You know, so I mean, that isn't over. I'm still there. And I'll be honest, I do say things to her occasionally, and sometimes they're not so nice. You know, and I'll be totally honest. It's like every time I get to a train track now, I let her know that this sucks. You know, I do. And, but at the same time, I also, you know, my mind, when I talk about incidents, you know, like Bogota instead of Bogota, and some of the things she says and the funny experience, I think that, you know, she obviously knows that, she's special in my life, and I'm not going to forget her, which is awesome. And honestly, the people in Erie who have watched her, I guess I'm not shocked, but it's like very surprising. It's like how many people that she touched that she didn't know. And, you know, part of the conversations a couple of years ago, we talked about the people that she would leave behind if that were an issue, if that happened, and how she would be missed. We did talk about that. But I don't know if she knew the level in which until it happened. Because that was surprising to me.
There was an outpouring, and we still, I follow you on social media and still see regular comments about memories about Emily and
random posts.
Yeah,
like Emily would have loved this.
You had a Bills tie, and I think it came from Emily's dad.
Oh yeah.
And there's just little connections like that kind of continue forward that remind the community of her and her specialness.
It's funny because even with Kelly Rowland, who's our newest meteorologist, people are like, "Oh, Emily sent her to you," because I'll be honest, Kelly's a little Emily. She's like, I'm a little worried there. And just around, I don't know what else. Since the passing, I've seen more cardinals than I've ever seen before. Mm-hmm. And I've actually seen her family. I've run into her father more than I've seen him before. Yeah. And her family, her sister, I think her nieces and her mom. So, and her husband. So, she's still around.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you believe those are signs, I mean, I think of my experience, the cardinal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I lost my dad 3 years ago. I lost my brother in May of this year. And I was outside my house and saw two cardinals flying together.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's true or not, like it just brought up the memory of my dad and my brother, and I thought of them being together, and it brought me peace and comfort. Do you see that as a similar sign?
I believe that, this is another podcast. I believe there's energy. Energy can't be destroyed. And however that energy works itself, the energy you have around you or in you is obviously for your whole life, but the energy that's around you, parents, friends, whatever, you all travel together. Mm-hmm. Conscious, subconscious, the energy's there. So I do not put it past that is a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And the thing about it, if it makes you feel better, what's the problem with it?
Right.
True or not true, you have comfort in it. Mm-hmm. And do you think about sad things with your father? Or do you think about the positive things?
Positives, yeah. Obviously the traumatic experience starts in the beginning, but as time passes,
sure,
get into more of the good memories. And obviously with my father, like I have plenty of them to choose. So.
And you're right. The traumatic, the instant of losing someone is one thing, but as some people quicker or slower than others, you immediately go, oh, wow, I remember that. He taught me that probably.
Absolutely.
He said that. And there's a comfort there. It's not necessarily a sadness. I mean, it's just a somberness, but it's like, oh, okay. There's a reason for it. And there's a reason that's why I met Emily. There's a reason why Emily was on TV and literally touched thousands of people that I was not shocked about, but it was eye-opening. I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm glad to be a connection, but she still has, her stepchildren and her husband, her former husband, her widow, and her best friends and her extended family through TV news to share her memory.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I know that all of you guys do a great job of carrying Emily's memory on and making sure that she's remembered by the community. I just want to close with this note on Suicide Prevention Month that, John, you mentioned being a safe space. I hope that, our podcast serves as a safe space. But for anyone having, suicidal ideation or thoughts or just, mental health, difficulties in general, don't be afraid to get help, right?
Yeah.
John, you mentioned you've talked to plenty of people. I know that in my life I've talked to people. This is a LECOM podcast. Obviously, I'm going to plug LECOM Behavioral Health and say, come to us to get help. But really, it goes beyond a brand or an organization. No matter who you reach out to, I just want to plug the importance of getting help. And, we're glad you're here, whoever you are watching this podcast. And John, we're glad you're here too on this podcast as well. So
right.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate the memories that you shared. And we'll continue living that legacy on.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys. Small talk about big feelings is a wrap. Before we wrap up this podcast, I wanted to connect you with a trusted LECOM behavioral health colleague to speak about suicide prevention.
Hi there. I'm Dr. Danielle Garris, Chief Clinical Officer for the Achievement Center of LECOM Health and Corey Counseling of LECOM Health. I'm also a licensed psychologist. Before you go, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about suicide prevention because it's something that truly impacts every community. Suicide is complex, but it can also be preventable. One of the most important things we can all do is pay attention to warning signs. These can include major changes in mood or behavior, withdrawing from relationships, talking about feeling hopeless or like a burden, or expressing thoughts of wanting to die. If you notice any of these signs in someone, take them seriously. Don't be afraid to start the conversation. Asking directly about suicide will not put the idea in someone's head. In fact, it can open the door to safety and connection. Asking may feel scary for you, but it may be a relief to the other person who may need someone to listen to them. Approach the conversation directly with empathy and without judgment. You might say, "It's common for people in intense pain to think about suicide, and I'm wondering if you're having thoughts of suicide." If the person confirms that they're having thoughts of suicide, don't attempt to argue with them about their reason and avoid telling them how much they have to live for. Likewise, don't promise to keep it a secret. Instead, reassure them that you're here to listen and encourage them to seek professional help. It's important that they feel heard and understood about the pain they are in. Offer hope that alternatives are available. You don't have to be able to help them solve the problems, but you can help them find a mental health professional to provide treatment. If you're concerned about someone's immediate safety, don't leave them alone. Encourage them to reach out for help or make the call together. You can call or text 988 to connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Trained counselors are available 24/7 to provide support for both individuals in crisis and those supporting someone else. Remember, help is available, treatment is effective, and recovery is possible. Reaching out or talking directly about suicide might just save a life. Thank you.